We have been fortunate in the last few months to be able to watch a beaver family on a pond near our home in northwestern Washington state. There are two species, one in North America and one in Europe. They are the second largest rodent in the world. The largest is the capybara in South America. Most of the time, I can get to the pond either without them noticing me or at least not worrying about me. But sometimes they become suspicious and send a clear and loud warning to everyone. They don't seem to be very scared when they slap, because they often swim right back to where they suspect something. I think it is just a, hey, pay attention. You don't often see them very far from the water during the day. But at night they get busy. 70% of the trees that they drop fall towards the water, so they seem to have some intuition as to where to chew. They act like they realize that there is some risk involved. There are a few records of trees falling and killing beavers. They usually don't keep chewing until the tree falls. They quit at some point to let the trees wait or wind finish the job. Sometimes that can take a long time. They were lucky in this case. A windstorm came the very next night and finished the job on both of these trees. Sometimes they just don't break off where you expect them to. Now the real work begins. Even in this big forest, it can get crowded. They drag some heavy pieces. It helps that they weigh 35 to 60 pounds. At first, I thought this one was measuring just how long a piece it wanted, but I think it was actually finding the highest place it could chew so it could get the most wood. Someone asked me how long it takes a beaver to chew through a piece of wood. By looking at the time on the trail camera on this chew, and one you will see later, it took about 6 minutes to go through this 6 to 8 inch log. You will see some of these same pieces of wood later floating on the pond, all white, after their bark and cambium layers have been chewed off. They don't take just the big pieces. They have to be strong, not only to drag out the logs, but also for pulling these long branches through the tangles of the forest. Midnight snack. It was unusual to see this one checking the job site during the day. But it didn't think it was quite safe enough. So it came back at night. This is the chew that took only 6 minutes to get nearly through the entire log. They have excellent hearing and sense of smell, but their eyesight is less developed. They have long and sensitive whiskers that help to detect objects around their head. That helps them to navigate their tunnels and passages through the dark water. We have to wonder, how do they get such large pieces of wood in their mouths? You can see by this skull that they have a lot of space behind their incisors. That extra space and their big and sharp incisors plus strong jaw muscles allows them to make those large bites. It's a good thing their incisors continue to grow throughout their life. Even at night, one has to be very cautious. This time it's only an opossum. And a bouncy deer mouse. But there are also coyotes, bobcats, and even the occasional mountain lion and bear in the woods. There is some speculation that historically beaver were more diurnal, but became more nocturnal because of hunting pressure from humans for many thousands of years. They had to drag some of these branches about 150 feet to the water. And they still have about 400 feet to go to pull the branches through the water to the lodge. For whatever reason, they are mostly nocturnal, especially for their cutting and dragging. But where they aren't disturbed, they can be quite active during the day. They spend a lot of daytime hours cruising around the water, collecting branches or eating. They really work hard. Even in the water, it's not very easy. Only the rear feet are webbed. They store a lot of the wood by sticking it in the mud at the bottom of the pond. That way, if it freezes or if there's danger from above, they can retrieve it, take it to the lodge, and eat it in comfort and peace. And it doesn't float away. They built their lodge around this old growth cedar stump that was cut in about 1910. I use this old cedar stump for my blind. You can see a lot of those wood pieces that they harvested, now stripped of their bark and cambium layer. It is fortunate they have a favorite place to eat that is close to the lodge and close enough for video. It was interesting at how many tiny sticks they eat. On these small branches, it's like eating corn on the cob. There's quite a difference between their chewing styles. You can see when they are chewing on a standing tree or cutting a large branch in two, they remove large chips of wood. And yet, they can eat so daintily on these tiny sticks that you don't even see chew marks when they're done. Their dams increase water retention and erosion control, and have even helped raise the level of some aquifers. One of the major benefits they provide is a wetland habitat they make that supports a wide variety of plants, insects, amphibians, birds, and mammals, including a variety of dragonflies and lots of frogs, Virginia rails, cedar waxwings, and osprey, as well as Canada geese and other waterfowl. Cows and other ungulates have 4 stomachs that aid digestion of vegetation. Beavers only have 1 stomach, but have an enlarged cecum, similar to horses, to aid digestion of difficult to digest cellulose. Like any animal that depends on their feathers or hair to insulate them from the water, they have to groom regularly. Beavers have a very dense hair coat, 75 to 150,000 hairs per square inch. Compare that with humans that only have 800 to 1,300 per square inch. The average dog has about 15,000 hairs per square inch. That is only 1/10 of a beaver's density. Their lips can close behind the incisors, allowing them to chew and pull wood underwater. There goes another branch going to be stuck in the mud at the bottom of the pond, right near their lodge. Having a cache certainly paid off this year. In our cold spell, 80% of the pond was frozen over. Access to the shore was quite limited, so they utilized material that they had stored in their underwater cache. This time, they had enough open water that they were able to eat outside of their lodge. They don't eat just wood products. They consume a variety of green plants, fruit and flowers when available, buds from tree branches, and tubers of water plants, and even green needles and branches of a cedar tree, and blackberry leaves and stems, including the thorns. One day, I watched 2 different individuals apparently grazing on moss. They would intermittently browse on local twigs. They have a double claw on the inside rear toe to aid in grooming. It is hard to imagine the numbers of beavers killed for their pelts in the 16 to 1700s. Some estimate over 100 million individuals. They were extirpated from some regions. Fortunately, there is an increasing number of private landowners and organizations and government agencies recognizing the benefits that beavers provide. This one had crossed over the dam to a lower pool and was returning to the main pond. The dam is just under 200 feet long. It must be one of the strongest and easiest to build dams around. The base is an old logging road. That had to save a lot of work. They add a few sticks to it once in a while, but they seem to be pretty happy with the water level as it is. If the level increased, it would flood their lodge. They are a lot more comfortable and confident in the water. When they think they might have heard or seen something, they sometimes swim quite close, sniffing the air. They can be underwater for up to 15 minutes. Although that is unusual, most of their dives are much shorter in duration, and you never know where they're going to pop up. It has been a lot of fun watching them. Fortunately, the beaver population has been increasing, and they are returning to some of their former ranges. The tail is only 3.5 inches long when they're born. It is 10 to 20 inches long when adult. The tail is used as a prop when sitting, a rudder when swimming, fat storage in good times, and of course used for slapping the water. The tail slap is probably mostly to warn other beavers. Some people think it also is to scare predators. Whatever the reasons, it is certainly powerful. For the many hours and days I have observed this family, I have not really seen many slaps. So I was lucky to capture these on camera. The vast majority of the time that I see them, they are just peacefully swimming around, looking for or gathering food or eating, and often seem to be just out for a swim.